It's known as the Long Island serial killer case, a mystery that has haunted families and investigators for over a decade. On the surface, Gilgo Beach appears to be a peaceful stretch of coastline, calm waves, soft sands, but just beneath lies a horrifying secret. For years, the remains of young women were unearthed in these marshy dunes, each discovery more sinister than the last. And now, with recent shocking developments, new evidence has emerged that could rewrite everything we thought we knew about these horrifying murders. The victims, mostly young women, their lives tragically cut short, left behind families desperate for answers. Who was this monster preying on the vulnerable? Was it one killer? Or were there more lurking in the shadows? Stay with us, subscribe for more, and drop your theories in the comments as we uncover the dark truths about Gilgo Beach. Our story starts in December 2010, when a routine search turned into a discovery that shocked the nation. Police were searching for Shannan Gilbert, a 24-year-old escort who had vanished following a desperate 911 call claiming, "They're trying to kill me." Shannan had disappeared into the night, last seen running frantically down a darkened street in Oak Beach, a gated community near Gilgo. Her phone call, filled with terror and confusion, offered few clues and even more questions. What had she stumbled upon? Who were the they Shannan was so afraid of? The search for Shannan brought investigators to the desolate stretches of Ocean Parkway, a road that snakes along the desolate beauty of Gilgo Beach. But what they found, however, wasn't Shannan, but 4 other bodies wrapped in burlap sacks, lying along the desolate beach road. The discovery sent a chill down the spines of even the most seasoned detectives. This wasn't just a missing persons case anymore, this was something far more sinister. The first body was found just a few feet from the road, partially concealed by the tall reeds and beach grass. It was the body of a young woman, her remains wrapped in burlap, as if discarded like trash. As investigators spread out, combing through the undergrowth, a horrifying realization dawned on them. This was not an isolated incident. 3 more bodies, all young women, were discovered within a short distance of the first. The bodies were too decomposed to be immediately identified, but the details were chillingly similar. All 4 were found wrapped in burlap, a detail that spoke to a terrifying level of premeditation and callousness. Whoever was responsible had gone to great lengths to conceal their crimes, but the ocean, it seemed, was ready to give up its secrets. The discovery of the 4 bodies sent shockwaves through Long Island and beyond. Who were these women, and how did they end up discarded along this lonely stretch of beach? The news spread like wildfire, and soon the once quiet community of Gilgo Beach was overrun with reporters, investigators, and curious onlookers, all trying to make sense of the unthinkable. The discovery of the 4 bodies sent a collective shiver down the spines of Long Island residents, particularly those living in the shadow of Gilgo Beach. The once idyllic coastal communities found themselves grappling with the horrifying realization that a killer, or killers, might be living among them. Fear and suspicion gripped the area. Neighbors who once exchanged friendly greetings now eyed each other with suspicion. Parents were afraid to let their children out of their sight, and a palpable sense of unease hung heavy in the air. The once bustling beaches of Long Island were now deserted, the sound of crashing waves replaced by the unsettling silence of fear. The image of the 4 victims, discarded like trash along Ocean Parkway, became seared into the minds of many, a haunting reminder of the darkness that had descended upon their community. As days turned into weeks, and the investigation dragged on with few leads, the fear began to morph into frustration. The residents of Long Island demanded answers. They wanted to know who was responsible for these horrific crimes, and they wanted justice for the victims. These weren't unrelated victims. They were all young women reportedly involved in the escort business. They were mothers, daughters, sisters, and friends, each with their own story, their own dreams, their own lives tragically cut short. The families of the victims were left to grapple with the unimaginable pain of their loss. their grief compounded by the gruesome nature of the crimes and the constant media attention. The victims' stories, their hopes, their dreams, were all but drowned out by the sensationalized headlines and the public's morbid fascination with the case. And then, the nightmarish truth became even darker. Over the next year, 6 more sets of remains were found, including a toddler and an unidentified male. The discovery of the additional victims sent a shockwave through the community, shattering any lingering hope that the Gilgo Beach murders were an isolated incident. The fact that a toddler was among the victims added a new level of horror to the case. The thought that someone could harm a child, an innocent life, was simply incomprehensible. The community was left reeling, grappling with the knowledge that a killer or killers capable of such unspeakable acts might still be at large. The investigation into the Gilgo Beach murders was sprawling and complex, a tangled web of dead ends and false leads. Police pored over evidence, desperate for any clue that could lead them to the killer, but the more they uncovered, the deeper the mystery seemed to become. The victims, mostly young women working as escorts, had advertised their services online. Could this be the link? Was the killer someone they encountered through these websites? The digital world, with its anonymity and vast reach, presented both a challenge and an opportunity for investigators. Adding to the complexity was the sheer scale of the investigation. Multiple agencies were involved, each with their own theories and approaches. The pressure was on, the eyes of the world were watching, and yet the answers remained elusive. But amidst the chaos and uncertainty, one thing was clear. This was no ordinary killer. The dumping ground, the meticulous way the bodies were wrapped, it all pointed to someone methodical, someone who knew the area, someone who had likely done this before. As months turned into years, the investigation seemed to stall. Leads went cold, and the killer remained at large. A sense of frustration, of helplessness began to creep in, not just for the investigators, but for the families of the victims, desperate for answers, for justice. Then, whispers began to circulate, whispers of something rotten at the heart of the investigation. Rumors of police misconduct, of evidence mishandled, of potential connections between law enforcement and the illicit activities that had brought the victims to Long Island in the first place. Could it be true? Could those sworn to protect and serve be somehow involved in covering up, or even worse, participating in the very crimes they were supposed to solve? The allegations, if true, painted a chilling picture of corruption, of a system that had failed these women in life, and now in death. The investigation into the Gilgo Beach murders was no longer just about finding a killer, it was about confronting a darkness that seemed to permeate every level of the case. And then, there was Shannan Gilbert, the young woman whose disappearance had inadvertently led to the discovery of the other victims. Was she connected to the Gilgo Beach murders, or was her death a tragic but separate incident? Her 23-minute 911 call, a chilling record of terror and confusion, became a focal point of the investigation. In it, Shannan can be heard pleading for her life, her voice frantic, desperate. But from whom? And why? Some investigators believed Shannan's death was a tragic accident, a drug-induced panic attack that led her to flee into the marsh where she was later found. But others weren't so sure. The circumstances of her disappearance, the fear in her voice, it all hinted at something more sinister. The mystery of Shannan Gilbert, intertwined with the larger puzzle of the Gilgo Beach murders, only added another layer of complexity to an already baffling case. It was a name whispered in hushed tones, a name that sent shivers down the spines of those who dared utter it. Rex Heuermann, an architect, a family man, a man who lived a seemingly ordinary life just miles from where those bodies were discovered. Could this unassuming figure truly be the monster they had been searching for all these years? Heuermann's arrest in July 2023 sent shockwaves through Long Island and beyond. Here was a man who, on the surface, seemed to have it all: a successful career, a wife, children, a home in the suburbs. But beneath this veneer of normalcy, investigators believed lurked a darkness that had haunted Gilgo Beach for over a decade. The news spread like wildfire, igniting a media frenzy that descended upon this quiet community. Cameras flashed, microphones were thrust forward, and everyone, it seemed, had an opinion on the man now at the center of this chilling mystery. But as the dust settled, one question remained: was Rex Heuermann the sole perpetrator of these heinous crimes, or were there other sinister forces at play? Section 2. DNA doesn't lie. In the world of criminal justice, there is often no greater truth-teller than DNA. It's a silent witness, a microscopic record of life itself, and in the case of Rex Heuermann, it would prove to be his undoing. Investigators painstakingly collected and analyzed countless pieces of evidence, hoping to find that one irrefutable link that would lead them to the killer. And then, like a beacon in the darkness, it appeared: a DNA match. A single strand, extracted from a pizza crust discarded by Heuermann himself, connected him to at least 3 of the Gilgo Beach victims. The science was undeniable, the implications staggering. The man who had blended so seamlessly into the fabric of society had left behind a trail that would ultimately expose him. The discovery of this crucial piece of evidence marked a turning point in the investigation. It was the break they had been waiting for, the key that unlocked the door to a labyrinth of secrets that Heuermann had guarded so closely. But as investigators delved deeper into the life of this seemingly ordinary man, they uncovered a web of disturbing details that hinted at a darkness far more profound than anyone could have imagined. Section 3. A glimmer of hope. For the families of the victims, the arrest brought a mix of emotions: relief, anger, a profound sense of validation. For years they had lived with the unbearable pain of not knowing, the unanswered questions that haunted their waking hours. Now, with Heuermann behind bars, there was a glimmer of hope, a chance for closure, and perhaps a measure of justice. But even as the legal process began to unfold, a sense of unease lingered. Was Heuermann acting alone, or were there others involved in this intricate web of evil? The investigation was far from over, and the possibility remained that more disturbing truths were yet to be revealed. The arrest of Rex Heuermann was a significant victory, but it was just one chapter in a story that was far from over. The families of the victims, forever bound by this shared tragedy, would continue to seek answers, to fight for justice, and to honor the memory of their loved ones, whose lives were cut tragically short on the desolate shores of Gilgo Beach. In the shadow of arrest, amidst the clamor for answers and the pursuit of justice, it's easy to lose sight of the human toll exacted by this horrific crime. We often hear about the victims in the abstract, their names reduced to headlines and their stories condensed into sound bites. But behind each of those names was a life, a story waiting to be told, a person loved and cherished by those they left behind. There was Melissa Barthelemy, a young woman with a warm smile and a contagious laugh who dreamed of one day opening her own bakery, and Amber Costello, a free spirit with a passion for music and a heart that yearned for adventure, and Megan Waterman, a devoted mother who adored her daughter and would do anything to protect her. These women and the others whose lives were tragically cut short were more than just victims. They were daughters, sisters, mothers, friends. They were real people with hopes, dreams, and aspirations that were cruelly snatched away. Their stories remind us that behind every headline, behind every shocking revelation, there are real people whose lives have been irrevocably altered. Their stories demand our attention, our empathy, and our unwavering commitment to seeking justice on their behalf. We must never forget their names, their faces, or the tragic circumstances that brought them to the desolate shores of Gilgo Beach. Section 2. The Shadow of Fear. For years, a palpable sense of fear had gripped the community surrounding Gilgo Beach. The knowledge that a killer walked among them, hidden in plain sight, cast a long shadow over their lives. Parents held their children a little closer, neighbors eyed each other with suspicion, and a once peaceful community grappled with a collective trauma that seemed to seep into every aspect of their existence. The arrest of Rex Heuermann provided a measure of relief, a sense that the boogeyman had finally been unmasked. But the scars of fear ran deep, a stark reminder of the vulnerability that lay beneath the surface of their seemingly idyllic lives. The investigation into the Gilgo Beach murders exposed a darkness that many struggled to comprehend. It forced them to confront the unsettling reality that evil can lurk in the most unexpected places, even in the seemingly safe haven of their own community. Section 3. A call for justice. The arrest of Rex Heuermann marked a significant turning point in the Gilgo Beach case, but it was by no means the end of the story. The families of the victims still deserved answers, closure, and a measure of justice that seemed perpetually out of reach. The investigation was ongoing, and the possibility remained that Heuermann did not act alone. This case, with its intricate web of secrets, its haunting details, and its devastating impact on so many lives, serves as a stark reminder of the importance of seeking justice for victims of violent crime. It highlights the critical role that law enforcement, forensic science, and the unwavering dedication of those who refuse to let such crimes go unpunished play in bringing closure to grieving families and restoring a sense of security to communities shattered by violence. And so, the story of Gilgo Beach continues to unfold, a chilling reminder that even in the most idyllic of settings, darkness can lurk beneath the surface. The arrest of Rex Heuermann offered a glimmer of hope, a sense that justice might finally be served. But questions remain, shadows linger, and the families of the victims still await the day when they can finally find peace. If this case chills you as much as it chills me, smash that like button, share this video, and subscribe for more deep dives into the crimes that shape our world. Also, comment below, do you believe Rex Heuermann acted alone? Or is the truth even darker than we suspect?